So here we are with the English hypnotist himself, Mr. Richard Hart. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good, mate. I'm doing good.
Wonderful. So, Mr. English hypnotist. I mean, of all the branding, I think that's pretty spot on. I mean, I think it's how did the name come about then?
I don't know actually, but it's yeah. I was thinking of like different kind of names. Originally, I was just going to have Richard Hart, and like because I think it's good to have your name as that what people remember. And then I don't know. I just thought, oh, the hypnotist, I like that. No, then I thought the English hypnotist, and I tend to work with a lot of athletes out of the UK, and I thought the English hypnotist, and I thought, oh, I like that. And he had like a little bit of a ring to it. And I
Yeah.
spoke to quite a few of my close friends, like from when I used to compete and everything. They're like, no, that's got like a bit of a ring to it. And I thought, yeah, I'll go with that. Like, so yeah, that's where it came from. I just came up with it.
Well, this is one of those things that was, cause the fact that English hypnotist is based in Birmingham, I was thinking, okay, everyone in Birmingham's English. Something the thing about being English is a bit of a funny one, but no, it's interesting. And regards of who you work with, then you got quite a mix of people on your clientele. I want to say, like, what is your background specific? You said there briefly about you competed. What was your background?
Right. So back in 95, I think it was, end of 95, I started training Thai boxing at K-Star in Birmingham. And I think I had my first fight in 96. Then my last sort of official fight was 99, December 99, 5th of December 99. That was against Craig Scurry, where I won the British title. Then I went to Greece, got a bar job, and I had a break for about, I think it's 2007. I came back and I fought an Irish guy because I wanted to do knees and elbows to the face because I hadn't actually done it. So I got like the itchy feet. So I got back in. I
And the
lost that
elbows.
fight, but it was a very, yeah, it was a tough fight. It was a tough fight. The guy was about 6'3", 6'4", an Irish guy, very tough guy, and it was a great experience. And then people fell out, as in opponents dropping out and things like that. So I just thought, that's it now. And then I started to help out Steve in the corners, and I started to see like more of the mindset more then. Like I had my own experiences, like those fights where my mind weren't in the fight. Yeah, like I'd done everything in training. When it came to the fight, I just wasn't functioning. And I saw that a lot more in when I was doing the corners. And I thought, what's this all about? I don't get it. Like it's been training perfect. What's going on? So then I got into NLP and hypnosis. I did a course back in 2010. I came away from the course, and as synchronicity would have it, there was a show literally the week after, and I thought, I'm going to test out some of what I've just learned. I mean, on the course, I was a bit, is everyone going along with the processes just because they want it to work because we paid for it? And I was like, I need to kind of have some fresh meat, if you want, so to put it. And there was a fighter, I won't name him just in case, but some of
Joe
the other
Blogs.
fighters, Joe Bloggs, yeah, Joe Bloggs. So Joe Bloggs was there, and the other fighter said he always gets nervous before the fight. He never starts till about halfway through round two. Now, in a 3-round fight, that's not probably the best time to
It's too
start
late,
getting
yeah.
things moving. It's like, are you going to win or are you going to lose, kind of thing. So I thought, oh, I know. I'll go up to him and say, I know this visualization technique that I always used to use before a fight. But it was an opportunity for me to sort of experiment with him in a positive way, because there couldn't be any negative thing from it. All I'm doing is guiding his imagination for a positive outcome. So I put him through a bit of a trance and done a visualization for him. And I already noticed, like, after, I was like, something had changed. I noticed some of his physiology had changed. And even at that stage of just learning the hypnosis, I was aware of people when they change from one state to another, the body, just the posture changes and everything. And he went out and he fought literally from the first bell. And I was like, that was an awesome performance. And he won the fight. He came up to me and he goes, Rich, he says, I'm going to call you Darren Brown from now on. I was like, why is that? He goes, I swear to God, you hypnotized me before I went out. And I was like, well, I might have, like, but it
Ooh,
had like really, positive effects. Like, and I was like, that's really cool. So then I've done some more courses, invested in some more kind of learnings. And then I just started working with fighters kind of thing. I worked with Aidan Lee. Like, I think he'd come off like, he'd had a loss in one fight and he wasn't switched on. And then I worked with him and his fights were literally going to exactly the way that we visualized it. Absolutely spot on to him. And he's doing really well now as well himself.
I mean, there is so much in what you've explained so far, and I want to sort of dissect a few points there. So, with your own competing, then, when you're in mindset on the days themselves, how did you treat that process? Was it very much like autonomous? You show up and then you sort of, fill in the blanks, or is it a case of you'd analyze and visualize in your own sort of way of doing it? What was your performance like?
When I used to fight, like Steve Logan, the trainer of K-Star, like the one who set it all up, he was quite a mindful sort of guy. Like, he was very positive in the way he used to talk to us, and he did encourage us to do visualization. And he also got us to do kind of like a diary where it was like almost future pacing, like 5 years time, I've won this, 4 years time, this, three. So it was almost like it had already happened. And you get us to read this diary, and that made a really positive impact, which is similar to some of the processes I do now as well. With actual visualization, I don't think I used to spend that much time on it. And thinking back, like, there was the odd fights where I didn't perform as good as what I knew I could. And I know that there was like a cycle of going in my mind of like a negativeness. Well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Even having those thoughts, like, I would have imagined it on some scale. And that's a movie that's getting played in my mind. It wasn't the best movie to be playing. And then there was other fights where I thought, I was so determined after I'd had a loss, I've got to win this fight. I'm going to win this fight. I'm going to win it. And I suppose there was little snippets of me just imagining winning the fight. So again, I was playing in that movie. And when I played that positive movie in my head, my performance actually was spot on. It was really, really good. Like, I thought I'd lost to Simon Aston. And then my next fight, he couldn't defend me because he couldn't get down to the weight category. So it was vacated, and I fought Phil McAlpine. And I stopped Phil McAlpine in the second round. I was really convinced I was going to beat him anyway. Like, that was no disrespect to him. I just believed in myself. I really imagined it happening on little snippets. And I won the fight in the second round. And he went on to be an absolutely, well, very good fighter. He was ranked in Rajasthan stage, and he went over to Thailand. And he actually like kind of increased his levels massively from after I fought him. But like, that was a good scalp for me at that point. So I'd say I did visualize. I just didn't spend as much time as what I think is necessary for fighters.
So, with that being said, then it's interesting the way you've said almost you didn't have the need for it at that moment in time, because more often than not, when you're in this kind of specific industry, like, you get a lot of people who get into physio because they've had injuries and they appreciate the process, so they find the need for that and they appreciate, okay, there's a supply and demand, therefore. But it's interesting how, at that point, would you felt that would have been beneficial, and also knowing how you were without it, if you find a fighter now in that sort of situation, would you feel it could always be detrimental to overanalyze things and then start creating these holes and such?
Um, I I think it's like, if I would go back in time, 100% I would use a mindset coach. In the same ways that many athletes now are using strength and conditioning coaches. They probably didn't, like, when I used to train, we didn't used to do that. We didn't even have dietitians. Like, we was just eating whatever crap we did. Like, me and Damien, like Damien training, we'd go to shows and we'd have like a packed sort
Like
of
Mars bar
pasta
and that.
dish or whatever. Like, yeah, no, we really didn't know, like, the dietitian. But if we went back, we'd know the proper foods to eat, and we'd be able to perform a lot better. In the same way, we know the strength and conditioning exercises to do, and mobility exercises. And a part that people are starting to get onto now is more of the mindset, because I think if the mind's not, it doesn't matter how physical strong they are, how skillful they are, if on the day they haven't prepared themselves mentally, And I'm not saying that they have to come to see someone like me. What I'm encouraging people, even people I have free chats with, is spend time visualizing, like think of the outcome that you want. Spend time, imagine it in their own way. Like when someone says, oh, I can't imagine, we can all imagine, because we wouldn't recognize people if we didn't have some sort of imagination. Because I thought, oh, that's so, it's a quick process that happens. And if someone was to describe their car, they have to kind of imagine. So we can all imagine. It's not often to start off with a 3D image, like really clear. That gets better and better as time goes on. Did I answer that question, or have I drifted
No,
off a
that's
little bit? I
interesting,
think.
because again, the way you've explained that's really interesting. Because my sort of premise was, okay, if you were succeeding without it, would overanalyzing it may cause some issues? But the way you've explained that really nicely is how you have people who, in an era where you can get away with not going through all the sort of the cleaner way of going to get a bit cruder and get the result the same way. It's then, as the sport evolves, it's then sort of carrying on and trying to keep things more up to date as such. Am I right in saying that?
I think athletes would perform better with visualization, 100%. I'm convinced of that, and that's not just because of the practice I do. And as I said, it's not to say everyone's got to come to me. There's loads of people doing what I do, and lots of people do kind of self-hypnosis, which is their own time visualizing. If you look at the time that people spend at training, strength training, sparring, pad work, bag work, how much time do they actually spend visualizing? It's an important part. It really is an important part. Not many people spend that time. I've worked with fighters. Well, I work with a lot of fighters. There was a couple of fighters that I've worked with that I saw a big impact, like literally the fight visualization that we did. And it's got to go to their abilities. I'm not necessarily going to say someone who can't do a head kick will visualize you knocking someone out of a head kick. We've got to be within their parameters or what they're capable of doing. The fights have gone exactly the way that we visualize them. They finished their opponents in exactly the way they visualized it. There's got to be some connection with it. There's got to be. What
So,
are your thoughts on that?
so it's not so much the thoughts against that as such. It's more the in the ideal world versus
Yeah,
reality. So the huge reason I wanted to get you on as well, because mindset's a huge part of one, the podcast, and also my own training, my own world. But when I have a sort of question is, you have your visualization session, you think, okay, I'm going to land a lead hook, they're going to drop, this is the end of the fight, happy days. But then what happens if that situation doesn't present itself? And then the reality of adapting. So like regards of your planning and your visualizing, like is it from like a
yeah.
macro point of view of, okay, we're going to get the general idea of the feel, you're going to know what shorts you're going to wear, you're going to think about what the mat's going to feel like, or the sweat from the fight before, you know what you're going to feel like when you're warm? Or is it a case of, okay, you know what it's going to be like, this is the combinations you're going to throw, what it's going to feel like when you connect? Like how intricate are your visualizations and how rigid does that then become?
I tailor it. Like I'll have a conversation with the fighter themselves, or the sportsman, depending on whatever sport is. And one of the important parts of my job is to pick up on the language and the phrases and the things that they use, the way that they explain things. So if I was to say, if someone says, oh, and I start peppering them with a jab, if I start to say, and when you start to fire off those jabs, it's not really going to connect with them as well.
Mm.
So I would ask them how they want to perform, and I'll be listening to lots of the phrases that they use. I'll be writing it all down, and those will be things that I'll relay back. So it will be things that they want to do in the way that they understand it. And the visualization process I do a couple of different variables. One is where they're associated in it, where they're actually like, they may say, oh, I feel the gloves on my hands. So I'll often go through all the senses as well, feeling it, seeing it, hearing the sound. So really engage them in the whole experience and seeing the openings, noticing the gaps in the guards, and then hearing the shots landing. So it's really engaging them in the whole senses of the activity, and they'll have their own kind of game plan. Like they might start throwing certain shots to set things up. And the thing is, the unconscious mind can react so quickly, which programs us to react so quickly. Like if someone throws a ball to you, and there's a lot of muscle memory behind it, but if someone throws a ball, we'll just catch it. It's not, oh, hang on, there's a ball coming, and it's not just the muscle memory. There's a connection between the mind and the body that makes us react that fast. It's a very similar thing, I would say, now think about it. So we kind of program the body to react. And the moment they see almost that the things that I emphasize quite a lot is like noticing if they're hurt. And if they notice they're hurt, it's almost like a green light to go for the kill sort of thing. And then they'll have their own sort of kill mode rather than like, do I, don't I, hesitancy. It's the videos being played that often that when they see that opportunity, they take instantly.
So like
does that make?
I was recognizing like cues and that kind of thing more so than the actual nitty gritty sort of specifics. And again,
and like the moment it's like, yeah, we sometimes I might do things in almost in slow motion. So as they say, if they're countering a jab with a leg kick, as they see him leaning forward and the leg drops down, at that instant you fire that leg kick in whatever way that they've explained it. It's to sort of, because I think the mind can really kind of slow things down as well, in a way that's beneficial for us, that it can also see that perfect moment to throw strikes. So I do it from those points of view. Then I'll also do it from what's like a disassociated point of view. So it'll be from the outside looking in. It's just something to add to almost, so we've got like a kind of 360 that all kind of gets kind of programmed into the mind. But the associated part, I think, is the most important part. I add the disassociate just for different aspects so they can actually see it happening as well. Because if you've ever been on like a show and you're on the outside or you're ringside, you often see a lot more. You see like the footwork, you see the positioning of the body, the positioning in the cage or the ring. There's a lot more that you see. So it's good to also have that awareness as well.
I mean, with all this being said as well, I mean, it's the difference between being a layman and being a competitor yourself. And again, I appreciate intricacies. And I feel the way you're explaining that again with the sort of reaction of catching a ball is very familiar territory. It's something very familiar to you. And again, being able to be composed with this, there's almost this faux imagery of what you've already imagined. And then by almost recreating what you've already experienced, you then recreate that kind of familiar, well, faux familiar sort of scenario. So when the familiar instances of sparring come back again, the reaction time is that much more slicker and a lot more smoother because again, you're more familiar, I want to say. Now, what we just spoke about there is very much an event, very much a planned, okay, we've got the anxieties leading up, you've got the people watching all this, it's a very specific big event. Do you do a lot of maintenance work on the build up and just...
can I stop you there?
Yep.
I wanted to stop you on that bit, what you said there. You said, and you've got the anxiety building up. How do you know it's anxiety?
Well, by the nature of the definition, the sort of apprehension of an upcoming event, albeit very much a thing you've signed up for and getting paid for, but there's still the pressure of having to perform in this danger and this, that, and the other.
Yeah, I like to teach people to, because I think anxiety is quite a negative word, just like fear. People say, feel the fear and do it anyway. I'm like, no, feel the adrenaline. It's adrenaline that's being felt, yeah? Here's two fighters, right? Fighter one, fighter two. If I go up to fighter one before his fight, I says, oh, right, fighter one, are you feeling the fear? You feeling the anxiety? And they're like, well, I've got this feeling in my stomach. My legs feel like jelly. Yeah, I am feeling the fear. I am feeling anxiety. And like, oh God, what does that mean? You even Google the word fear. It's nervousness, anxiety, anxious, scared. Do you think those are really bad negative associated words to fear and anxiety? Yeah. Now, I'll go up to fighter two. Fighter two, are you feeling the adrenaline? Well, I've got this feeling in my stomach. My legs feel like jelly. Oh yeah, I am feeling adrenaline. What's that mean? It means I'm going to be faster, stronger, more focused. My body's going to be anesthetized. Because we all know, people who have competed, whether it's football or even a fighter, we don't feel the shots that we feel in a fight because of the adrenaline. It's a natural chemical that's released in the body. So why not call it adrenaline? And then I call it ART. I've kind of stole it a little bit from Jeff Thompson, so I want to give him the full credit for this. He calls it ARO in his book, Fear. Accept the feeling because you're going to feel it anyway. Recognize it as adrenaline. It's your friend. It's your fuel for the fight. Override the negative thoughts. I call it accept, recognize, and then think positive thoughts. I like art. Art sounds better. So, yeah. So this is what I was kind of, we spoke just briefly before we began. It's like the labeling of what people use. I think fear is just a really bad label because it can spiral someone off into a really bad place. The feeling is going to be felt because it is adrenaline that's released in the body. What happens is, what if a negative label gets onto it, it just starts to spiral and spiral in the wrong direction. Well, all my clients, so we start off with that, and they're like, oh, it's really good because I can feel the adrenaline in me now. As I say, you will feel the adrenaline every time you think about the fight, because the mind doesn't know the difference between what you see in front of you and what you imagine. That's been proven. So every time a person says, oh, have you got your fight coming up? They'll think, my fight. They'll think about the fight in some capacity. The mind's going to think, we're fighting. It will release a little bit of adrenaline. That's why I remember now when people used to say, are you fighting? I used to feel the feeling of, oh my God, it's that fear again. Why am I feeling scared every time someone asks me if I'm fighting? It wasn't. It was just the adrenaline. It's my unconscious mind almost saying, Rich, we've got this. Is the adrenaline. Let's get ready to fight. It just releases little bits of adrenaline.
And this is something you very much sort of go quite strongly about on Instagram as well. This whole thing of the language is so specific and so important. And I think it's almost like a, not quite CBT, but that kind of, again, this sort of behavioral kind of habits people get into being very specific of what they say. And again, like you were saying there, you've given that label of the anxiety as a negative thing and a sort of apprehension, a sort of worry, whereas it's excitement, it's build up. It's not, it's either dreading, your exam or you're looking forward to Christmas. I mean, it's the same kind of feeling, but it's the way you manipulate it and the way you perceive it. And again, it's it's very important. And I'm glad you called me up on that as well. So my question there, leading up to that, was more about, okay, so when someone's got an event they're trying to prepare for as best they can in all sort of fathoms, do you do a lot of work on the maintenance of sort of training, not just leading up to it, but outside of camp as such?
I work with athletes outside of the camp. I mean, there's a lot of the people I work with, they see the benefits of kind of continuing the work we do. Like I do a training journal with them. And one of the reasons I think the training journal is important, like now with potential clients, I always have an initial chat with them. Also see if I kind of fit the kind of category of client that I can work with, really, because they've got to be committed to the processes I do, and also they've got to be able to do this journal, because the journal is kind of guiding their language in a positive way, and as they continue to use and perceive things in a positive way, then they start to continue to feel good. It's only when, like, I've had fighters I've worked with, we'll have a fight camp, there'll be a break, like, what it's like between fights, there'll be a break between fights, they'll work with me again, and I feel like sometimes I've got to kind of go back a couple of steps to move them forward. And now a lot of the fighters have realized that, and I adjust the package to suit them, obviously financially as well. It's just to sort of maintain the journal, at least, that we continue that, because I can look at their language and I know if something's up, and I'm like, Okay. I was like, everything okay? Yeah, everything's fine. Okay. Got time for like a 5-10 minute chat? Yeah, I've got time. So I'll make a gap in my work. I'll ring them up. And I was like, what's going on? And they're like, nothing. I was like, yeah, there is. Well, language has changed. So it's important to kind of maintain the work. Some people carry on. Some people see me once and they've kind of got it straight away. And they're disciplined in carrying it on. Other people got so many things going on in their lives that it's like a hard thing for them to commit to all the time. Because in the journal, I'll tell you what the 3 questions are, and I'll explain why they're done like they are. Question 1, where did I give great effort? Question 2, where do I want to focus my efforts next time? Question 3, when is my next opportunity? Question 1, where did I give great effort? All the person can do is focus on what they've done good. It's not, well, I did this good, but I did this. That's not where the focus good effort. Because what I say is everything for but is bullshit. It kind of negates what's just been said. It's like if someone bumped up to you, I went, oh, I'm really sorry, Dan. I'm really, really sorry. But you was in my way. It kind of just, it kind of negates it to get the word but. Yeah, exactly. The word but negates everything. So this is why I look out for the language that they use. So all they can say is what they've done good. And they're like, well, there was nothing good. And when they look for it, they will find it. Right, I did this good. Where do I want to focus my efforts next time? Now, this can be repeating something they've done good. And it can also be, if they've done something wrong, instead of looking at the problem as a problem, they look at the problem as an opportunity. What's the solution to that? See, when I speak to people and they think about what they've done wrong, they're like, oh, I did this wrong. And they're staying in the problem and they're like that. I'm like, well, what's the answer to that? What would you want to do? What's the solution to it? Like, oh, well, I want to do this. And that's, I just noticed that they shift completely. The physiology, when they think about the solution, and I tell people to get excited when they do something wrong. That don't make sense, they say. I was like, it does, because whenever you do something wrong, that's an opportunity for you to evolve and develop and correct something that's not quite right. It's an opportunity for you to get even better than you was just. Does that make sense?
I mean, this is an interesting point. So the reason I say this is very interesting is because this is the ideal way people see themselves. That when they make a mistake, they can take criticism and they're open-minded. And all the other sorts of things they say to try and sound, positive and good thinking, but it's more the action. So where do you sit on that regards? If it's a case of fake it till you make it with how you act with that, or is it a case of trying to naturally, genuinely feel a certain thing with that?
No, I wouldn't like that. Literally, the point of those questions is it's not to fake it. It's almost like, say, like
Create the habits.
every time I throw a leg kick, I'm getting caught with a punch. Right, I gotta keep my. Every time I throw a right leg kick, I'm getting caught with a punch. Right, my solution next time will be, instead of, I'm not gonna let my hands. I'm not going to drop my hands, because that's still imagining dropping the hands. I'm going to think, right, I'm keep my right hand up. Now, if I still get caught and think, okay, that wasn't the answer to it, what else could it be? So I search for the answers. And I think that's important. And it's not, well, it's kind of positive mental attitude and all that. It's look for opportunities, look for the wisdom, look for ways to get better. And it's not, I don't see that as fake. And it's like, well, what else can I do? Because too many people, when they do something wrong, they just think, oh, I did that wrong again. Oh, I did that wrong. And it can't resource sawdust. Can't go back in time. No one's got a time machine. Although I do keep asking, and no one I've spoke to yet has got one.
I mean, that's another
if we haven't got
paradox
a time
itself.
machine, we can't go back.
Different conversation.
Say again, sorry.
So that's another paradox, another conversation that, if they ever made one, they wouldn't need it. Again, it goes back on itself. But anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I really like the way you answered that. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. Is because you're changing the habit and changing the reaction, because you'll see a lot of people, me myself, at many occasions, that when something goes wrong, you can't quite figure out. A good old tantrum, a little sulk is always good fun, but it's the case of then taking that attitude. Okay, my point isn't to react, it's to try and understand and try and reevaluate that problem-solving kind of mindset of, okay, this is a problem. I'm getting clattered with this like inside leg kick, but my hands are up, so that should be my solution. I'm not going to sulk and say I'm getting caught with it. I think, okay, maybe I'll switch my stance. Maybe I'll circle out the other way. Maybe it might be all right. Oh, look at that. It stopped happening. And it's a case of, okay, I'm all right. And instead of trying to, what's the word? Rest in the laurels that, oh, I tried something and it didn't work. These kind of, I don't know,
I was just
behaviors.
about to say, I give people red X's on the messages if they put the word try, because it does go back to like many people use, and it's so true, because try is to, it doesn't matter if it's like half an effort. I see try as half an effort. Like, go back to The Empire Strikes Back with Yoda and Luke Skywalker, and he's saying, I'm trying. He's like, there is no try. You either do or you do not. It's people really, and I've got it on one of my posts waiting to go on as well. But it's true. Like, I think, just think, well, no, I'm going to do it. And if you fail, you fail. It doesn't matter. You did it. You give it 100% commitment, and it's that effort that I think is important in people. And those questions get us familiar with the language we use. Like, we at school, we learn all the words. We're taught how to construct words together to create sentences. We're not told really the power behind a lot of those words, and also how it can make a person feel, and also how it makes us imagine. Like, I encourage people to lose the words don't, try, but, fear, pain. It's kind of going to lose pain as well. I like to focus, if they're feeling discomfort, I like to change it to discomfort, because discomfort is more manageable than pain. Pain's either on or it's off, quite digital. Where if it's the words kind of change to discomfort, it's more analog, so we can kind of adjust it and play with it a little bit.
Now, with that, then it's even more interesting, because depending on the person, again, some people are more sort of numbers based, very like. So back to one of the other examples, saying people have strength coaches. Like, when you have a strength coach, you expect to get certain numbers, or this, that, and the other. Whereas with sort of mindset, sort of, I feel mindset coach is a bit of a brief statement to really go down to what you do specifically. But again, it's more a case of, okay, what kind of tangible results do you expect to get from people in that sense? Because as much as the transition between, okay, I've got a very digital on or off kind of reaction here, so now I've changed to analog, so I'm going to ease it off a bit more. It's a weird way of asking the question, but more a case of, how do you like to process results in that sense, to try and measure things and keep things more, I don't know. You see what I mean? Weird one
I
to ask.
notice, yeah, I notice the result. Is it kind of, how do I notice if the person I'm working with is improving? Is that what you
Yeah,
mean?
that kind
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
There's a few ways that I tell. One of the way I tell is, I'll talk to them at the start, and we'll chat about certain things, and I'll purposely talk about certain topics, and I'll listen to the way they respond, and I'll talk to them or ask the questions I want to know the answers after we've kind of spoke for a little bit. So it's almost like the guard comes down a bit, so I can see what naturally flows out, and then I start to see if they're kind of changing or making shifts in their language. Then I'll also ask them to think about certain things, and I'll remember, because I make notes all the time, the way that they react to certain things. Like, for example, there was a person I worked with recently, and he is a business person, and he had a fear of confrontation. And when I talked to him about it, I said, "Well, generate that fear," and it generated fear, and we calibrated it, or the experience. Think about the experience. How does it make you feel? It's really bad. It's about 7 out of 10, with 10 being as bad as it can get. Okay, so I've got like we've all got our own personal experience. That's why I say scale it 0 to 10, because I can look and I can see, but if he gives it a number, he's identifying it as something. Run through a process. At the end of the process, I was like, how do you feel? Because oh, I feel really good. Just think about it again. There's nothing there. This is kind of weirdly getting a little bit excited about it now, because I threw some things in what he wanted, like, and he wanted to get excited. Now, the conscious mind is always looking for evidence to prove it wrong. Like, oh, well, this isn't working because of this, or what? Oh, but you haven't actually been in this situation yet. My counter to that would be, well, at the start of the session, you imagine a situation and you generated a bad feeling up to number 7. You can't do that now. So there's been some shift already happened there. And he messaged me, I think it was he had a package with me anyway, but he messaged me about 3 days after. He goes, Rich, I've just been to the gym and my coach asked me to spar this guy, and he's a really good guy. And I was like, yeah, I'm up for that. He says, where I know before I'd have been absolutely crapping myself. Like and it's through that, like it's through their honesty, because I don't want people to say, oh yeah, it's working. Oh God, I feel really crap. Like, I'm still scared. I can tell if someone's being congruent with what they're saying. If they're saying, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine. I know the body posture that, no, there's something not right there. So I can tell with the way they say things, if there's congruence with the words that they use and also the language. And I ask them to be honest, like, how do you feel now when you think about X, Y, or Z? And then I look for their reaction. And it's often where I ask them about certain things in the future, like future experiences, that when I see their positive reactions, I know that the shifts happen. I know that they're kind of changing in their way.
Now, the way you sort of phrasing all this as well is the term hypnotist and the sort of branding in this kind of way around. Why hypnosis in itself? When, again, hypnosis, when it comes to me, who's a complete layman on the subject, imagine sort of cartoon sort of thing of, the sort of swinging clock and your eyes go like circles and you feel like chicken or whatever. Whereas it's more a case of these sort of mental cues of trying to be certain things, and I don't know, for some of sort of therapy kind of support in this kind of other areas. Why hypnosis specifically then, with this kind of, I don't know.
I did NLP, and hypnosis was thrown in. I did some more hypnosis. Hypnosis is more like the kind of transportation, putting someone into a state to use a lot of the techniques that are like NLP and certain kind of ways that people have thought. We kind of use those techniques. I just find hypnosis is, out of everything I've learned, and I've learned quite a lot of different techniques, like there was, and this isn't to put any bad light on the other techniques, it's the techniques that I found I use and get the most effect from, like so IEMT, it's integral eye movement therapy. There's there's a list of loads of courses that I've done, and I've just found that, and I do take little snippets from everything, and I kind of do, but hypnosis is the main part. Everyone I work with will go into a trance, will go into hypnosis, and will experience phenomena, like, of whatever it may be. Some people, they react where I'll ask their unconscious mind to lift their arm up, and their arm will lift up and it will start waving to them. It'll be a lot of things that I wasn't lifting my arm up, but it just lifted up. So it's engaging the imagination. Some people do, some people don't. It doesn't mean I don't go into hypnosis. It just means people react different ways to different suggestions that I give. I just think hypnosis is currently what I've learned so far to be the best way to change people's state from one thing to another. And hypnosis goes on all the time, even just through conversation. Hypnosis is happening on the adverts, just people aren't aware of it.
But again,
with
this becomes
suggestions, the way things are phrased, the music.
With all these layers of sort of general sort of parlance kind of thing, of the way we phrase things, the way we give certain things off in nuances and like posture and tones of voice and all this kind of stuff. and the way you try and be suggestible, be suggestive, and all this kind of stuff. But no, the reason I'm really asking that is because the way you're describing the process of how you're managing, one, their expectations of what to expect, two, the problem they came in with versus the solution they're after, and sort of ongoing support versus the, okay, you have a problem and we're going to solve it. And it's more like an ongoing kind of management thing. So this is why hypnosis seemed a bit of a, I don't know, the branding compared to the way it's been described seemed a bit,
Well, you
did
got
it do justice as such, if you see what I mean.
there's like there's two parts to that. The first part is someone comes with something they need fixing, they get it fixed, they're done. They don't need to come back. That's kind of remedial hypnosis, if you want. They call it kind of a remedial therapist. Now, what I add onto it as well is kind of more of a generative hypnosis, which is you've got something good. Whoops, okay. You've got something good, you make it even better. So you can have fast reactions, you can see things, you can enhance, I believe you can enhance things, and people have experienced things improving massively by continuing to kind of engage the mind and the body with the processes that we do. So we just kind of carry on. And the thing is, anything can happen from that end of that fight package to something else. I've had, there was a fight I was working in Las Vegas. I think it was a Tuesday before a fight on the Saturday. Her mother-in-law collapsed on the floor and she was having to give a mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. She nearly died. Like the woman nearly died. Like her mother-in-law nearly died. She died 911. She's been coaxed what to do. Now that can like really put a spanner in the works before a fight. I literally linked up with her straight after and she was fine straight after. But anything could happen after. I'm not to say people are immune to things. It's just something new can pop in. And if they don't know the kind of processes to kind of remove it and put something back in, it can be a bit challenging for someone who doesn't know what the techniques. I give recordings that can cover a lot of things just so they've got the resources. Very often they just give me a call and I say, Rich, can we hook up for a session? And I'm like, yeah.
I mean, that in itself is really interesting. The sort of transition, the sort of, again, there's so much in that. So it's the people who sort of come in for a service, they go in, get the service, go out,
Yeah.
then you get the sort of the ongoing sort of development. And then in that instance, we had the lady where her mother-in-law was, again, that's kind of fight or flight mechanic. And again, I feel this side of things comes even more to the surface, really. That when you have these habits built in, that everyone's, what is it, oh, who said it? Everyone's a gangster so it comes to doing gangster shit. Like when push comes to shove, you see what you're really made of in certain elements. And case in point with that kind of thing, that when you're in a certain position where you have to fight or flight, you know how, I don't know, how sound some of your sort of structures are. And when there are these gaps, you can they sort of get highlighted and they're sort of emphasized, I feel. So I don't know. Obviously, we're not going to try and like get overly like all the bells and whistles and everything. But no, it makes sense that when someone's in a much more sound mind, or when push comes to shove, they can act in a more sound, rational way.
Here's something that happened. Like it's when people see, what happens is things for how people react to future examples. Things have happened in the past, and when people imagine something in the future, they use their experiences of the past moving forward. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So bad stuff has happened in the past. When they imagine something in the future, they think, oh God, that's going to happen again. It's happened to me before. I know it's going to happen again. Now, in some of the processes, we adjust what's happened in the past. We almost detach the negative feeling, like the mind and body connection, detach the negativeness, keep the wisdom, because there's opportunity there. Yeah. When that negative emotion has been removed, we can look back at it and think, right, I know what to do next time. And then future pace, imagine into the future, dealing with the situation different. Now, when that's in the mind, it's almost kind of changed it in the mind, their own experience. So when something similar happens again, think, right, they react in a different way. Where if they've got bad experiences, bad memories, they'll often react in the way they have in the past because that's how they've learned it. So it's reteaching what's gone in the past. And until those things sort of pop up, can't really kind of, unless they kind of say, oh, well, I know there's this I want to work on, this I want to work on, this I want to work on, then we work on those individually. And then as I imagine future situations, providing those are changed in the way we want it to, then we know that it's worked.
I mean, again, a lot of this comes down to compliance is the wrong word, but the more they give you, the more you can work with, the more you can understand. And
Yeah,
again,
if they don't tell me nothing, I can't just. Do you get me? Like they say,
yeah.
well, it's like taking your car in. Take a car in. Oh, it's not running properly. Or so, oh, can you fix the tire on the car? They go away. Well, that exhaust has still got the same problem. Well, you took it in there for the tire. Like, as long as they be honest, which is everything that happens in the session stays in the session. So I've got to come across as where everything's, we have that rapport. If we don't have that rapport, that's one of the key parts for success in hypnosis, is to have that rapport between myself and the client. Again, that's why I'll have an initial chat and I won't take on all inquiries, because if I can't feel that connection between us, between myself and the potential client, I don't think the results are going to justify their investment. So I say, look, it's maybe not right for you at this moment. Like, just have a think about it. Because if I've got trust issues with working with me, there's no point moving forward. And going back to a bit, there's a thing that pops into my mind when we was on about how to react in different situations. There was a fight I worked in Australia, Paul Hosking. He was training up for some, if it's police or something like that, and he'd woke up on the morning an hour late for this assessment that he had to drive an hour and a half to get to. And he woke up, and one of the things I teach, if you want, is to look at a situation and again analyze it. Is it in your control or out of your control? Only focus. If you could write big lists of the things that are out of your control, in your control, that you're thinking about, that are making you feel in a certain way, all those things that are out of your control, just put it in the bin. There's no point focusing energy on the stuff that's out of your control. And that kind of expands a bit more, that topic can. But he basically woke up and he was like an hour late. It's like, and his missus was like, we're going to be late. It's like, it's okay, come on, let's just get up, get ready. And he says, Richard said, it was so good. He says, I just got up calmly, got my stuff together, right? His missus was like running around. It's like, just relax, all right. Going to be late, we'll be late. I can't do nothing about it now. Got his stuff, got in the car, drove there. I didn't race there because it wasn't safe to do so. He says, I just got there, just drove normal. I felt so relaxed going there. He was running an hour late. He gets there and he walks in, and for some reason, he was like, only ended up being like a couple of minutes late, and they were just about to go in. And he walked in just in time, so he was relaxed and calm and everything. And he says, Rich, you know what I thought about when that situation happened? He says, what? He says, it's what you taught me. It's like, is it in my control or out of my control? Because at the point I was thinking, oh no, what about, And he quickly stopped himself in that moment and he thought, it's out of my control. What's in my control? I can still get there safely with my missus and everything like that. So he made that choice kind of thing by the learning. And that's what we do. We make choices by what we've learned and the knowledge and the wisdom that we've got.
I mean, this is a huge. It's interesting to hear how he's managed to apply that himself as well, because these are, again, those sort of ideals that people have. But when push comes to shove, they sort of still end up effing and jeffing in this, that, and the other. So it's interesting when it actually gets put into practice and actually gets benefit as well. And it's good to really hear that, not only that it'll work out in the end, but regardless of the outcome, you remain sort of relaxed.
Through repetition of it, I do compound it quite a lot, and I layer on in the work I do those kind of suggestions about just focusing on what's in your control. And I think the mind takes on new choices, better choices, And there's lots of different processes, like might be ego state work, where get all like in our imagination, it's like, because we often say, oh well, there's a part of me that does this and there's a part of me that wants to do that. That's often different parts of us or egos inside us. So there's a process where I get them to go into almost like a meeting room and you talk to your ego states and like, oh yeah, he looked like this and he looked like that and he said this and he said that, or she said this, and there's like that inner conversation going on, and we come to a resolution. And it's only when they kind of promise that they'll take on these new choices that work best for you, where they do, yeah, and it works. These are like kind of proven sort of techniques that have worked, like working with ego states and parts therapy. And people make those shifts and they're like, yeah, I just think like this now. And people find it hard to kind of understand it or even accept it. Like, well, but you always used to do this. Why have you suddenly like that? And it can happen like that. In the same way that they first decided to do something, it was like that. Even though they've done it for a long period of time, they can also change it like that as well, if
And
they
again,
want to.
it's that was it. That is it. If people want to,
Yeah,
if they
they've got a bit
actually want to, this is a
threshold. Yeah,
huge part.
yeah,
And
100%.
anyone listening now who wants help for anything in particular, make sure you actually want it and want to be helped, not someone's making you get help for little things like quitting smoking, things like that. If you're feeling obligated to do it because someone else is making you, you're not going to do it. You have to at least want to do it. And that's a huge step in all this kind of stuff.
100%, Dan, 100%. Because when I first started, well, it wasn't when I first started, it was kind of when I was in the middle of like how long I've been doing it and that. Someone had contacted me and says, oh, can you work with my son? Like, I want you to work with him on this. I'll give you a bit of a background. My biggest mistake, I was listening to his story, his experience of his son. Son came to me and I went to the table with what I thought I had to do. Big mistake. We never ended up working together. I gave him a full refund because I was like, no, it didn't go the way I went. I'm like, and I looked and I could have been punishing myself. It's like, no, I've learned such a big lesson there. It's something I was taught as well. You work with the person there, not with someone else. Like, I'll never take on a client. I have had quite a lot, and I say, oh, you'll help my friend or my cousin or my mum or blah blah, whoever it may be, Joe Bloggs. And I was like, yeah, it's possible. I says, well, I want to have a chat with Joe Bloggs. I want to listen to Joe Bloggs' story, not someone else's story. And that is an important part. And then when I talk to Joe Bloggs, I'll get to see, is this something you want to do, or are you kind of being coerced into just doing it? Are you willing to come into the processes 100%? And there's little suggestibility tests I'll do with them. And if they're not willing to do things like that, then they're not really willing to come with an open mind. And that's one of the things I always encourage. Come with an open mind, and we start to look at the possibilities compared to the limitations of what's possible.
And again, it's so like prevalent. Again, you see it so many times if you're speaking to people, even like in an office, like little things like that at work, like suggesting ideas, thinking, okay, you haven't listened to what I've said, but you've been polite enough to let me finish, but you haven't. You see people glazed over it, think, okay, this is a complete waste of time. But I appreciate even more from your point of view, where you have to literally like deal with people in pure compliance and them actually listening and wanting to be involved. Whereas if you can't get that from the word go, I can imagine how frustrating that is. Oh, I couldn't begin.
That's why I'll have that chat. Yeah, I'll have that chat. And I've had some athletes, some top ones as well, and they'll go, yeah, I'll do the training journal. As it goes on, oh well, then if I really like doing a training journal, I won't work with them again. And then there was another one I had, very good fighter, worked with a fighter and had massive results. And then started to go on to, well, I don't really like anything going past like, because I allow 60 minutes is my minimum for regular clients. But to begin with, I ask them to allow 90 minutes. And he was like, well, 90 minutes is a bit too long. I don't like sitting through that long. I was thinking, we're working together, and if someone wants to make a change, like if we always do what we've always done, we'll always get what we've always got. You want different results, you've got to start doing different things. You've got to start doing things that would seem uncomfortable. Then not going into hypnosis is such a relaxed process. If what was going on at the start was sat rigid, okay, let's do it. Got to kind of just make yourself comfy, just relax, almost like it's like sleep, but it's not sleep. It's like waking sleep, if you want. It's like your body's, you just relax your body, the body will relax, and then the mind is engaged. So I've had lots of sort of little speed bumps along the way where I work out and I think, now I'm kind of hitting my head against the wall. I'm like, I'm really wanting to help them, and they're not often willing to go through the processes. So again, I emphasize as much as I can at the beginning, initial chat. And sometimes, honestly, I chat to people for over an hour, and it's no cost. It's at no cost. I want to help, give them some sort of message, some sort of guidance. There's a potential I work with them. It's not all the time, though. I'm just happy to help them and assist them. That's why it was cool to come on here as well.
No, I appreciate your time. And again, with that being said, then, with obviously people not being compliant, being reserved, being apprehensive or whatever else, where do you draw the line at trying to not coax them, but trying to put them at ease versus, okay, they're not playing ball at all? Like, where's your sort of rough sort of line where you sort of think, okay, maybe another day?
I trust my unconscious mind.
Good answer.
You know that kind of little voice you get in your head? I don't know, maybe I'm going crazy, maybe I'm the only one with this little voice.
Schizophrenic.
Very often, what's funny with the sessions is I'll have a new client and they'll say, I want to work on this. And I'll spend time before the actual session, but very often about half hour before, I'm just running through the kind of variety of techniques that I could use, the processes, and right, and I think I've got it now. What approach I'm going to use. When it comes to the actual session, it like my unconscious, I hear something in my head and it goes, you want to do this technique? And I'm like, but I didn't plan that technique, but yeah, we'll go with that one. And I'll do that technique and the result is brilliant. So I just trust, like if I have an alarm bell go off, I have a little sensation in my body that's saying, no, it's not, this isn't right. I will come across every single time as honest as I can and as understanding as I can. And I'll almost shine a light on the possibilities of what they can have. And if they want to shine the light over there, then I leave that choice with them until they're ready to shine it over here. Then I'll say, just have a think about, like, I mean, this is what can happen if you kind of work with me. And that's one thing I also emphasize is it's us working together. I haven't got a magic wand. I can't just go, it's done. We work together on the processes. As long as a person's willing to work with me, then the results will be good.
And now the most important question of the podcast for people who want to work with you and find out more about you, where could they find you?
They can go to my website, www.theenglishhypnotist.com.
Yep.
Additionally, they can go on Instagram. The handle is The English Hypnotist. On Facebook as well, the handle's The English Hypnotist. I'm on LinkedIn as well as Richard Hart. So yeah, I guess those are the main ways to get in touch with me.
Cool. Those will be in the description.